You're listening to Dramas Over Flowers. This is an episode of The Long Yak with Saya, Anisa, and Boroma. Hi, I'm Anisa. This yak will squee and rant and try to wax eloquent about what we've been watching over the last month, plus our usual complement of dad jokes. This podcast is a project for the fandom by the fandom, so if you want to help us out, you can do it in a lot of ways. You can share our episodes, talk about the podcast to friends who love dramas, leave a review on iTunes or the podcast app of your preference. All of that helps us grow. And if you want to help keep our lights on, you can check out patreon.com/dramasoverflowers. Finally, you can get in touch with us with your thoughts and ideas. We're always reading the comments on YouTube and Drama Beans, but you can also tweet at us at dramasoverflow or email us at dramasoverflowers@gmail.com. Enjoy the episode!
Hi everyone, this is Saya.
This is Anisa.
And this is Boroma. Welcome to the August Long Yak, where we talk about stuff we watched in August, I guess.
But it's recording in September, and it's going to be published in September.
Yeah.
And we're all very stressed out because our sound isn't behaving.
No, it is not. All right, Anisa, you had something you wanted to talk about?
Well, I just wanted to bring up something that is sort of related to our discussion about Mulan in the you guys talked about it a couple of months ago, and then I sort of gave my own thoughts in the last What's Up in Dramaland. Like pretty recently, that I don't know if y'all have been following the Hong Kong protests. It's a pretty amazing and sustained. I mean, it's one of the most amazing protests I've ever seen, honestly. Like the way that these people have just been like out there on the streets, and even like
treated
the way
the
that
police.
they've been. Yeah, that has been really horrible. Like the way the police have been treating them has been really horrible, but they've just like kept going out there, and they've been making signs in using words in Cantonese that the police won't be able to understand because they speak Mandarin, so that they're able to like get around. Like, yeah, so they're communicating their protests without having the police be able to like understand what they're saying, which is really cool. But yeah, I wanted to just bring up that the Mulan, the actress who plays Mulan, she posted something in support of the police in Hong Kong. So that kind of
there
became
were a lot of calls for boycotting
a scandal,
Mulan.
or like a yeah. I mean, I don't know if boycotting Mulan is the correct response here, but it definitely points back to. I think I brought this up, or someone brought up how the way that they're kind of catering to mainland China in their casting and in like their production partners, and it's become like white Americans and mainland Chinese. And I know that the ethnic group that they're portraying in Mulan, I think, is not supposed to be a Han Chinese ethnic group, but the fact that that is kind of the dominant narrative that they're sort of cooperating with becomes complicated. Yeah. So I don't know how to quite express what I'm trying to say here, but these are the issues that I was kind of concerned about when I heard about who was going to be making this movie and who was going to get to write it and all of that. So
I did notice that she wasn't the only sort of big name. There were like other celebrities. I think but like several celebrities came out in support of the Hong Kong police in that way.
Yeah, and I wonder if part of the backlash to this is because of how deeply the Asian American community identifies with Mulan, and also how sort of invested the Asian American community has been in watching the protests in Hong Kong. I think it really resonates with a lot of Asian Americans. So I think for that reason, it became a big news story, particularly with her. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up since it's kind of current, and I think we'll keep our eye on this. We're definitely going to be following this story of Mulan.
Yeah, maybe we'll have more to add to it in the next What's Up in Dramaland.
I will do more reading next time. This is more like kind of off the cuff, but next time I will bring research and articles. I promise.
Okay, so I guess we should start with the one that we're all watching, which is Rookie Historian Gu Hae-ryung, which we're all watching now, thanks to Anisa's like very persuasive persuasion.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my god, everything about this show is just so delightful. I'm like watching it, like clutching my heart, going "Ee," like with this enormous grin on my face. It's just, yeah, I'm one episode behind though, so I'm not sure if things have gone angst, like sort of into angst town there.
So there's a potentially angsty reveal at the end of episode 14, which I won't spoil.
I'm guessing it's something to do with somebody's parentage.
Yeah.
Nope.
So one of you says yes and one of you says nope. I don't know what to make of that.
I mean,
but yeah, don't spoil.
yeah, I won't mention that. But it's definitely gonna throw a wrench in things next week.
Probably. Well, one thing I consistently like about Hae-ryung is that both the drama and in the protagonist, they often go in unexpected directions. Like whenever you think that the drama is going to, I don't know, get sad in, like, for instance, when Go Hyung was having her battle of wits with the king, I was expecting that to go in a certain direction when she was first, like, caught eavesdropping and the consequences of that. I thought, wait, this is going in a mellow direction. And then it turned into a battle of wits. It's the drama is unexpected and seriously fun. And Guirong herself, like, often you have like, she is not the naive heroines that we usually get in historical dramas. She is very smart. Even when she wants to help, there is a certain character at some point who's a runaway and she wants to help this runaway. But she doesn't buy his sob story. She thinks through what he said, and even and like the sob story is being told to the prince, and the prince is like, what, you poor thing, because he's a sweetheart puppy. And Guerong is like, maybe don't trust him this easily. These are the sort of like holes in what he just said. She is so practical, and she has shown herself to be practical repeatedly, but still sort of honest and true to herself. So just, yeah, I'm loving everything.
That reminds me of like how earlier on in the show, like she's got all of these great ideas. She's very pragmatic and thoughtful. She has she believes in justice and all of these things, but like her practical knowledge of things isn't necessary. It's not necessarily at the same place as her theoretical knowledge. So she's always like encountering these situations, and particularly like her first encounter with the crown prince. And similarly, like her encounters, early encounters with historian Minuan, like she'll have a particular ideal, but then it's challenged, and like she actually like takes on that challenge, and it makes her rethink her beliefs. And it's just, I love the way that she's allowed to grow and develop intellectually, and like all of that. It's such an amazing way to develop this character. Why don't we have more of her? And also, when I'm watching this, like something I've always wanted ever since I started watching K-drama is like, can we have a Jane Austen adaptation like of in K-drama? And I'm watching this and I'm like, you don't need Jane Austen, because if you've got this is like the Saguk answer to Jane Austen. It's like it's that classic kind of the really smart heroine who's limited by the who's caged by the limitations of her time, but she's also found her ways, she's found her way to exist within those limitations at the best that she can be. And it's just like, oh, I like it so much.
Yeah, and it's in some ways it's even better because they found a way to have her escape the strictures of her particular situation without marriage or having like a relative take her in and feel sorry for her, like she's kind of forging her own destiny. But then you do, I didn't think of Jane Austen, but you do kind of have those like hilarious character moments with a lot of, because one of the things I love about Jane Austen is there's a lot of really funny but true to life tertiary characters who really spice up the narrative. And you have like, young, like Chief Historian Young, who's like hilarious. He's really so great, like I just want to take a moment to appreciate what I'm calling the historian's revolt, because it's one of
It
the
was
best
so
things I've ever
good.
seen in Saga,
Yes.
honestly. The entire thing from beginning to end, like the fact that they're all doing this as like on the matter of principle, and how they're like basically willing to lay down their lives for something that is I talked about this in my recap, but like the sense of history in this show is so interesting, and it's not something that I've seen in a saga. And I mean, I know that I don't watch a lot of saga, so maybe it's just that I haven't seen enough of them. But it's so different to see a show that's taking place in history, where the characters are also aware of their own history and who have a sense that they are making history, but also that they're products of history. And so when he makes that speech about like the sacrifices of all the people who came before us, and how precarious their position is as people who actually have a right to record and judge what the king is saying for future generations. Basically, like that's the power that they have. And he's like, this took hundreds of years. And if we step back now, like who knows, maybe it'll take another 50 or 100 years to reverse what is happening here. And so like it's definitely worth sacrificing your life for. And that was like
I got goosebumps.
so amazing, and also so relevant to things that we're dealing with today, right?
As a side note, I love Go Hae-ryung's voice. The actress Shin Se-kyung, I don't remember her in any other role. Is the first one, but every time she speaks, and I think partly it's her voice, and partly it's because it's the Saguk way speech. She has such a deep, measured voice. So when she delivers her monologues, it grabs my I could hear her speak like she could do ASMR, and that would be something I would dish out money for.
She's not as good in modern stuff,
Yeah.
but she has a perfect tone for Saguk, I think.
Yeah, you don't remember her from other things that I think you have seen her in because she's not memorable. But I think all of her saga roles have been, like, I think she was also in, was it Rebel or one of the other?
She was in Tree with Deep Roots, but she's silent in that, so you didn't get to really hear
There's
her
another
voice, which
saga
is
she
a
did
shame.
more recently. It was either Rebel or the other thing that. Oh, Six Flying Dragons.
Oh, she was in it?
I think that.
Maybe.
I think she was in Six Flying Dragons. Do you want me to quickly check?
I'm checking.
She was in The Bride of Habig also, apparently. That's a modern one.
Yeah, Six Flying Dragons. Yeah, and she was in Queen Sunduk too.
Right, so those are the roles that people do talk about her in. So I remember in Six Flying Dragons, because I didn't watch that, but I kind of followed the fan reaction at the time, and everyone was like, her character is amazing in that. And same in this. But like I've seen her also in like Girl Who Sees Smells, the other one, Blade Man, and maybe Black Knight, and she's not memorable, not in those modern ones. They're just yeah, I didn't enjoy those dramas either. So
Yeah, and not only is her acting so good in this, which we should give her all the accolades, but I don't know, it's like the combination of her acting and this character is just so,
Yeah.
I just love it. Like I just really, you know how you were saying, Parma, how like the drama takes you places where you didn't think you were going to go. Like you think that a certain conflict is going in a particular direction, and like I think a lot of that is a function of the way that Hae-ryung is written.
Yeah.
That you just don't like. She is not going to react to situations in the way that like a typical heroine would, and so because like she's just like upending all the drama tropes just by existing, because it never occurs to her that she should like be quiet in the face of injustice or like not act according to her principles. And she's not naive. Like she knows that there's going to be consequences, but she doesn't want to disappoint herself by going against her own principles. Like that's what's the most important thing to her.
and like for example, in another instance of her doing the unexpected thing, like with the whole love line and romance and thing.
Yes.
I was like, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, can they have this romance? And then as it goes on, you're like, actually, it doesn't seem to be a problem. But then there's also that kind of that tension where it's kind of like they both aren't, and that that whole sort of very restrained. They both know how they feel, but they don't go anywhere with it. But then you're like, And then she does, and you're like, oh, is this like this is all that needed to happen? That like their conflict isn't that like they're not star-crossed and can never be together kind of thing. Obviously there will be complications, and I'm sure that all sorts of birth secrets will come out and make things even more complicated. But like this part of their romance where they're just like they like each other and they respect
Yeah.
each other and they care about each other, and she can just be like, it wasn't about oh, does he like me, doesn't he like me. It's for her, it's about, well, how do I feel about this? And then she's like, you know what, actually I think I like him enough to go to the next step. And then she does. And it's like, it's such a straightforward and direct way of doing things that it feels really revolutionary. And like, this is how I want to live.
Yeah. And it's also so in character.
No, her quoting that poem back to him, like finding the poem and then reading it and then like getting all teary-eyed, and then it comes out and she just like quotes the poem back to him. That's it. Like, that's all they need. That's all of it right there. I was just like, this is my favorite love confession of all time.
It really is. I feel like I want to cry right now.
I like how she usually takes the initiative between the two of them. Like there was that scene in the mountain where they were holding hands, and she told him a fib about why she needed to hold his hand. And I love that later on she was like, there is a time when I lied to you. I lied to you about why I needed to hold your hand. And the prince was just standing there blushing, and this all of this is totally in character. This makes
The other thing I really like is that, like, with Hae-ryung, you would think that like her natural taste would run to someone more like the crown prince or Minowon.
historian.
Yeah. So either of those, you would think that as a more natural pairing, but it's not. It's like, it's little cute puppy prince, and you're just like, I love this, that her being this sort of badass intellectual woman doesn't mean that she's going to make those like the expected choices. She can love whoever she wants, and it's just like, I just love how unexpected it all is, and also because you do buy it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember early on in the drama, I read some comments from viewers who were saying that, like, I'm really worried because a lot of times, even with dramas that have their heroine's name in the title, the second half becomes usually about the hero. And I mean, that happened with Beautiful Gongshim. It happened with, oh my God, why can't I remember the name of the Kim Jae-wook Park Min-young drama?
Oh, Her Private Life.
Yes. I mean, that was supposed to be about her, and it ended up being all about him, right? But in this one...
Yeah. But you know what? The show has already set up this expectation that intelligence can trump melodrama here. Like, just because something is set up to be sad doesn't mean that that is where the thing is going to go. They have given us so many instances where things could have gone really bad, but because people were intelligent and patient and honest with themselves, they got through it. So I'm hoping that that is how the rest of the show goes, because that is what's won my heart.
Yeah, like, it's essentially not a tragic story. It's like a comedy in the what's it called sense.
Yeah.
I love that she is the one who's like saving people's lives and saving the historians, the entire Office of Royal Decrees, by going toe to toe with the king and defeating him with her smarts and all of this. And meanwhile, Rim is just like making her lunchboxes of love and like waiting around to feed her and like pining about her and like dreaming about when they're gonna get married and live happily ever after. It's so cute.
Oh, it is.
I only have one complaint, which I don't know if it's like, it's a very small complaint, but I did feel that in the last, so like episode 13 and 14, or I guess if you're watching it on NBC, that's like 26 through 28.
Let's stick with 13 to 14, please.
Yeah, I'm watching it on Netflix, 13 to 14. But like the whole thing with like the foreign intruder, I feel like it was played a little too much for laughs, but also like they're asking us to be way too invested in this character when like we still don't know the backstory about, you know, the doctor and the Sorewan and all of that. Like, so it's hard to be invested emotionally, but then also it's so comedic when you know that like there's 73 people who might potentially be executed for being Catholic. and that's just like kind of in the background, and you're supposed to just like laugh. It's just a little weird. It's a little weird, especially because
I think they did
it
give
all
a
becomes about Jean Baptiste, and you never see. I don't know. I do like that you have historian Sung who kind of anchors that story and for the Korean families who are going
they
through.
had a moment with the crown prince, which I really appreciated, when he heard that 73 people were going to be executed for being Catholic. And he knew how powerless he was, and he sent the messenger away. And yeah, I mean, you could see on his face that it was just like the worst thing for him. Like 73 people who are his subjects, and he can't protect them. And it's just, yeah,
Right, but it's still about his pain and
true,
not their
true.
pain,
That's
right?
true.
No, I have appreciated that they've continuously made the point about the power imbalance between the people who are in power and the people who don't have power, like from the beginning of this drama, and how much of what a historian does is trying to mitigate some of the damage that happens because of that imbalance of power. So I do appreciate that they're bringing it up in different ways. It seems like every week they bring it up in different ways. You know, like one of them was the smallpox, and then one here you have like about the religious suppression, which we know in Joseon, like you weren't allowed to have any type of belief system other than Confucianism. So I appreciate that. I just feel like them focusing it on the angst that the princes were going through and the angst that was being felt by this like random white dude from France was a little bit. I feel like that got a little bit more screen time than like historian Sung, who's not even facing the full brunt of anything
He got
because
saved by Min.
he was able
Yeah.
to slip away.
Which made no
Yeah.
sense, by the way. Like these people, these soldiers went up against the queen, the Dowager. How do you say that?
Dowager.
Dowager.
They went up against the Dowager Queen, but suddenly they couldn't pat this dude. What's his name? Historian Min down. It's
But that's because his dad is
yeah, I know, but I'm just
power.
he got.
So.
Anyway, never mind. I mean, for the sake of the story, that's
Oh, that worked. Like I felt that worked.
Huh.
But one last thing I want to say
Yeah.
before we do move on is that I love this. Like sageks in general, they do like they tend, or at least the ones I've watched, they will pick an aspect, like a historical aspect of the story of the time, and they will like weave their story around that. So like in this case it's historians, and like who of us would have known before that there was this role and that they had this function, like just on CCTV, which is great, by the way. But like I just really, because I remember and of course everything I learned about Korean history clearly is from dramas. Like Queen in Queen Inhyun's Man, where they have the annals that
Yeah.
Kim Bong-do is always
Yeah.
checking to see what happened, and it's like I was watching that and I was like, oh, so this is where the annals come from. So like that idea that they had this daily recording of all of the the meetings and the happenings in the palace and all of that, and then from that's formulated into these historical chronicles, and it's like it's so
It's amazing.
interesting. I mean, because like as a nerd in general, I find that whole aspect so fascinating. Like for example, in Saimdang Light's Diary, which nobody watched but me, it's about paper making. In Warrior Baekdongsu, it's about ginseng. And it's like it's one of those things that comes up in every saga, and
Yeah.
I find it so interesting.
Before we move on to the next drama, there's this one relationship that I just wanted to mention because I'm not sure where it's going right now. It's between the Crown Prince Yijin and the rookie historian Song Sahi, the one who we know is kind of a double agent, but also she has a sense of honor, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. So I like that she's forming a sort of a loyalty, sort of a bond of loyalty
Yeah.
with the crown prince, and he is starting to trust her. He certainly seems to value her. But on the other hand, and I think in the next, because from what little I saw of the preview, it seemed to be that the next few episodes might test her loyalty. So that would be interesting to watch. I'm actually really hoping that this doesn't get into. I initially I was shipping the two of them, but when the crown princess made an appearance and her story is actually pretty poignant. I mean, even though they're not focusing on it, it's actually pretty sad. Her relationship with the crown prince.
Sad.
I'm also partially rooting for that to
Yeah.
get better. So I'm really hoping nothing develops here now. So I'm a bit torn.
Yeah.
I just want second state councilor Min to get knocked off somehow so that like his children can be
Yeah.
Oh
happy.
god, he has
And he
made
can stop
both of his
doing
kids.
horrible things.
Yeah, because like the only reason the crown prince can't trust his wife is because of her father. And if he
Yeah.
were not in the picture, then it would be different. Like maybe he could actually have a relationship with his wife and allow
Because
himself
he seems to have sympathy for her plight. It's not like he
but
doesn't
he
understand where
can't
she's coming
afford to
from.
trust her all the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, but that happening in the background makes me not want to root
Yeah,
for him with Sahi
neither.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of stopped rooting for them, but I'm hoping that this particular subplot is more about Sahi's loyalty to the crown prince versus to the second state dude.
Or even more importantly, her loyalty to the Office of Royal Decrees
Yeah.
and her fellow apprentices and her
And don't you feel
sunbays and
like Sai is so much her own woman that
She is, right?
You're right. Like I can't see her choosing any of those other things before her own values. Not even the
which is also why the spying doesn't really make sense to me when she's like openly defying her father's schemes of corruption, but then like behind the scenes she's spying for Counselor Min. I don't get
she's
that.
doing that in a calculated way. And if when push comes to shove, she's going to have to make a choice about what to report to him and what not to. And I do feel that she will not side with him in the end.
No, fingers crossed. Because I like her character a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. We should really
Let's move
move on
on.
to the next one now. Yeah.
What is the next one?
Oh, it's Love Alarm. All right.
Oh, it's new.
Okay, guys, I have to. So I went into this because the concept was kind of silly and I thought it was kind of horrible in a way. Say you and I have an app and we have it turned on, like we turn on our GPS. And if I have a crush on you, then it lets you know if I'm in the vicinity within like a certain distance. And that's awful. Like they show it that it's an intentional thing. Like if you want to hide your crush, you can just keep it turned off. But if you want to let your crush know, then you turn on your app, and if they have theirs on, then you ring their love alarm. That has become like a phrase in the drama. So anyway, the concept was cutesy, but also there seem to be so many moral dilemmas there that I was like, yeah, exactly, it's terrifying. So I was like, how are they going to do this? Well, they mostly ignore the moral dilemmas, of course, but also they don't have the entire season down. I mean, I started watching the first episode and I was like, I'm going to watch the
Can we
rest
take a
next
moment
week.
to complain about Netflix's model
Netflix,
of chopping dramas in half and then calling them 2 seasons?
Okay, so Arthdal Chronicles, man, what the hell are they doing? It's been months. I've already forgotten what happened in the first part, and there are 2 more parts left.
It's not like the drama's doing so well anyway.
And it will not be doing any better now that they have decided that, hey, forget about the first part, literally forget about it, and then when the second part comes, I don't know what their views are going to fall given the amount of money they spent on Arthal Chronicles. Shouldn't they have just done
These
better?
shows are designed.
It's such a baffling decision.
The shows are short anyway. They're designed to be a single story. It doesn't make sense to cut them in half.
Yeah, exactly. It was not like it's not like it was written as if it can be 2 parts. I mean, this particular one, and then you had another drama sometime back that was My First Love, and that was chopped in 2 halves. And again, not a drama that was structured in a way that can be divided into 2 seasons. It's just randomly chopping something up.
So weird. So like when it's broadcast, no, it wasn't, was it? Was Asadal broadcast on actual TV in Korea?
I think it was.
Like, did it get a domestic broadcast or was it
No, they
Netflix
were definitely
only?
broadcast domestically because I was reading the ratings, the TV ratings for Arthal Chronicles, so which is why it's weird. They have.
So has it paused its airing like domestically?
To be fair though, Arthal Chronicles was actually like created to be a 3-part thing. It's not as if like that was just chopped up randomly.
But even
it's too long between the seasons.
It just
I don't
doesn't
know.
make sense. Yeah, just like release it weekly.
Yeah, why are you ruining something that works in order to fit it into a paradigm that doesn't work and that people hate? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so Love Alarm, it's a cutesy story. It's got our what's her name?
The actress Kim So-yeon, yeah.
Yeah, Kim So Hyun. Yeah, you're right. So it's got Kim So Hyun, whom we didn't like in Radio Romance, but we like her when she's, playing a character closer to her own age. And she's about 17, 18 here. And then there is a time jump, and she's like college aged. So, at no point is she like trying to be someone who's like half a decade older than herself. She does gravitas well. So, and the situation her character is in is a very Cinderella type of situation, so it works. But there is this one thing that I really like about her character is that even though her situation is hard and her family is unsupportive and often cruel, if she sees an opportunity to have something for herself that's good and will make her happy, she will have it, even if like other people around her, like her family's pressuring her not to or trying to guilt her not to. She's not going to be self-sacrificing. So I like that about her until one point when she was suddenly like, no, you know what, self-sacrificing is better. And then she does a noble idiocy thing which ruins something that was actually super adorable about the drama. And then yeah, I kind of lost my interest right there. And then
Ended.
and then the drama kind of ended. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't want to use a swear word here, but there is a swear word in my brain right now. Real hard one. Okay. Um, okay, so the two boys, though I have never seen Song Kang in anything, he's super cutesy and most likely the main lead. And his character is one of those sort of Sphinx type male leads. Like you don't know what they're thinking, but they are super charismatic and even earnest and really sweet at certain points. So great, but not a lot of character development there. But yeah, I mean, like during the romantic scenes between the two characters, it was like, whoa, chemistry, well done, yay. And then you have the second lead, who's played by Jangaram. Again, another boy. I don't remember him from anything, but this boy, he's got a clear character arc. And if I watch this drama whenever the second season drops, it'll probably be just for his arc. I want to see what they do with his character, because he is like the typical second lead who got a second chance with the heroine because things didn't work out with the main pair. So now he's come in and he's actually developing a relationship. He's dating the heroine, and you want to see where that goes. You want to know what happens. Does he get the girl, or does the supposed main lead get the girl? But I want to know what happens with his character, because this is not like one of those situations where the second lead kind of like shoehorns his way in. He doesn't do that. Like when he sees that something is happening with the main pair, he just backs off. He tries to make things as not awkward as possible. So he's a good guy.
Boy after our own hearts.
Yeah, like seriously, I could seriously watch his story with a lot more interest. Again, yeah. So like whenever this thing drops, I don't know, in January maybe, seeing how long they take dropping these seasons, I'll see. Maybe I'll watch it for him at least a couple of
I have
episodes
one
to see where this
question
thing is
though.
going.
Does Kim Se-yeon still do that head tipping thing and the eyebrows?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course she does. Trademarked.
God, I can't. Once I noticed it, I just couldn't stop seeing it, and I can't. That's not, no.
Yeah, she does. But you know what? I generally like her. Just I like her. Her like the characters that she plays. And to be fair, my favorite character of hers is still I Hear Your Voice, like the kid from I Hear Your Voice. She could not
Yeah,
top that, or at least she hasn't
but
topped
there was
that
no
yet.
romance for
There was
her
no
in
romance,
that,
but
so so she didn't have to do any head tipping and
true.
eyebrow raising. So
I think she's improved though. Like at least in this one, the few romantic situations that were there, because this is more a teenage romance thing, and it was kind of done really sweetly. Like it's awkward but sweet, and she's done a good job of being like a teenager with a crush. So yeah, no, I liked her. Yeah,
More up her alley.
we'll have to wait for the second
Yeah.
half to
If
see.
I do watch this, I'm gonna wait until the whole
yes,
season
dude,
is
the
out.
frustration that
Yeah.
I felt when I reached the end, I was like, "Where's the rest of it? What?
And you were like not prepared for this.
Nobody warned me."
Aw.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now you know. Always be wary of Netflix.
Yeah. All right.
So next is
So
Anisa's thing.
yeah, so I just actually started yesterday because Rookie Historian is literally the only thing I've been watching. But yesterday I was like, let me just start one new drama, and then I remembered that Melo is My Nature premiered in August, and I had been really excited for that. This is also known as Melo Suits Me, Be Melodramatic. But I think Melo is My Nature is kind of like the closest to the literal translation of the title, and it really fits. It's a very fitting title because all three of these heroines, I mean, I guess one of them is technically the heroine, but their stories are pretty equally distributed, which I like. They've had very dramatic lives. They are very dramatic people. They work in the drama industry and film industry, but it gives me like I really like it. It gives me like a little bit of an Age of Youth vibes because it's very focused on like female friendships. And it also has kind of, in Age of Youth, we had the dark secret that was in one of the characters' past that was kind of, we thought it was like the house was haunted, but it was more like a figurative haunting of the ghosts of their past. So in this, like, there's similarly something in the past of one of them that has caused her a lot of trauma and that she's still not quite finished dealing with the after effects of. And you could also call it like a ghost is haunting her too, in a way. And the other two, and like this group of friends have kind of just all moved in together after, the bad thing that happened. And so because of that, it also gives me a little bit of Age of Youth vibes, but like they're around 30, they don't quite have their lives together, but they're working, they're trying to figure out what to do. One of them she's a single mom because like she fell in love with this trash human being when she was in college and he left her with a baby to raise. So she's trying to like make ends meet in a really very difficult job because basically she works for a PPL company. And she's the one that basically has to go to the set and force the director to include the product in the shot. And he's usually like, get out of my face, you're ruining my art. Like, so poor thing. Like, she is the one who gets yelled at for this and has to like stay up all night waiting for their scene to come and then like forcing the jelly pop or whatever into the shot or like the fried chicken, So it does a really good job of portraying the harsh realities of life, but in a way that's so funny. Like, it's dark, but it's darkly funny in the way that real life is. Because sometimes you go through these situations in life where, like, everything is so horrible that the only thing you can do is make a joke about it. So it is kind of dark in that way. But for some reason, it doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't make you feel depressed. It's because it's so funny and the friends love each other so much. Aww. And they're so like ready to just go to the mat for each other. So I really like it so far.
I think from what you've described, this sounds like more of a traditional K-drama female friendship story. Like we've had This Is Our First Life or Age of Youth, for instance, where you have had like 3 or more female characters who are friends and the stories do explore their friendship. What is it like watching one of these dramas after watching Search WWW?
It's not quite as radical as Search WWW because these 3 women are not in a position of power. They've all kind of been dealt some pretty serious blows. I mean, one of the characters does remind me of Scarlet in the sense that she's not as cute as she is, because no one is. But she literally is like willing to threaten violence if someone crosses her. And it's like a sort of, in the same way as with Chahyun, it's like in the face of injustice, especially against her friends, she's like willing to beat someone up or like chase down this jerk that has like screwed over her best friend, stuff like that. So she does remind me of her in that way. And I think the other thing that kind of reminds me of Search WWW is that like the dialogue is very sharp. It's very writerly. It sort of almost reminds me a little bit of Romance the Bonus Book too, because it's like a writer's drama. So some of the stuff that, like the voiceovers can get a little bit much because I'm like, okay, like you're being a little bit too philosophical right now, but it's also being narrated by the main character who is a drama writer. So like,
it's going to be like this.
Okay, it's a little bit indulgent in that way, yeah. But it's like we would enjoy that kind of stuff. So, and there's a lot of inside the drama industry stuff that like we enjoy that because we watch so many shows.
The whole idea of the PPL thing is just like, wow, I never thought that was an actual job. That's really interesting.
She's also working, in the beginning of the drama, she's working for this really famous drama writer as her assistant writer, who's like kind of a jerk, but she's like super successful. So the assistant writers just have to like do whatever she says. But they're like, oh, like the way she writes things is a little bit old fashioned. So like I liked how I was like wondering if they were poking fun at a particular very famous drama writer, or if it was just like a commentary on the industry, but that was fun. Her dynamic with that drama writer is hilarious. Yeah, it's just the chemistry of the actors is really good. Not necessarily the romantic chemistry, but just like as a group, they really play well off each other. The dialogue is really well written. So,
does it have any significant romances?
So one of them is Mourning, a past romance. The single mom might start getting. Well, I'm pretty sure that her new Hubei at work is going to be her love interest, played by Gong Myung. Why would they cast Gong Myung if it wasn't for a significant role, right? Like,
so is that going to be like a mini Noona romance?
I guess so. Yeah. And then the main heroine, or like the one who's kind of telling the story, her love interest seems to be, I don't remember his name right now, but the second lead, or not the second lead, but like the best friend, and the half of the secondary couple in Fight My Way. He is kind of a jerk in this, but he's an interesting jerk. I don't know. He's like I can't get a read on him as a character. So, but they clearly like have a thing for each other already, you can tell. So, but they meet in a work situation. He's a director, and I won't say any more, but it's very interesting. I'm definitely going to keep watching it. I think it's very much up our alley. So
I still have to watch that WWW.
Oh my god, woman! Go watch it. What are you doing?
There are only so many hours in the day. Well, you know what I thought I would do is I thought, well, okay, new year, need to have some new shows. So, last night, Watcher ended last week, so CN's got a new one. Hell is Other People, that has one episode out. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get in there with my first episode, first impressions and whatnot. I started playing it, and 10 seconds in, I was like, this is scary. I'm going to bed. Goodbye. So that's how that ended.
Yeah, I don't really have the courage to watch that either.
It didn't seem like it was going to be that kind of creepy, supernatural type of drama. Because remember when we previewed it, and we were like, this just sounds like Bad Neighbors and weird people. But this is like weird phantom zombie things. I don't know if it will be, because as I say, at the beginning of the drama where they have that thingy screen, what's it called? What do you call that screen? Yeah. It's not the actual drama, it's the rating and the things like that. So that screen, and in that it was like, it had this really creepy ghosty vibe, and I was like, it doesn't look like what I signed up for. So then I was like, okay, I'll just stick.
It might be horror in the same way Hotel de Luna
no, but that's
is
not horror.
It is
in the same way at all.
There are some.
That's a fantasy romance.
Moments.
So before we move on to that show, though, I just want to mention about the show that like it stars Chun Woo-hee, who is the main person. I haven't seen her in anything, but I really like her so far. And the other two friends are played by Jun Yo-bin and Han Ji-eun. And the love interest for Chun Woo-hee his name is An Jae-hong. I couldn't remember his name earlier.
Oh, that's the Fight My Way guy.
Yes.
Oh,
and it's written and directed by Lee Byung-hun, not the actor Lee Byung-hun, but the writer and director Lee Byung-hun, who's done like a lot of movies, but I don't think he's done much TV. But he did like Extreme Job, 20. So he's done more. He's done more films.
Was that Kim Woo-bin film?
20 was Kim Woo-bin, I think, and Jin-ho.
Okay. Yeah.
Extreme Job made a ton of money last year or this year, and I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was really good. So yeah, and it's very cinematic, like you can tell.
And yeah, like Chun Woo-hee is normally a film actress as well, so she's done lots of films and not so many dramas.
That's right. She's done more films.
Yeah, she did Argon last, with Kim Ji-hyuk in 2017 before he passed away.
Oh right, so, yeah, I still haven't seen that.
Very worth seeing, but not when you're depressed. Because
she's really good. She's really able to carry off someone who might be unlikable. That's another thing that I like about this, is that none of the heroines are immediately like super candy and likable. And it made me think of your piece that you wrote, Saya, for Drama Beans about
Prickly
sort
women.
of heroines that that maybe most people don't like, but it does have that element of like women who aren't afraid to show their sharp edges to each other and to the world. And I like that.
This is definitely one to watch, I think.
Yes, put it on your list. Okay.
I was moving on to The Great Show, which is my contribution for new stuff. Great Show opened last week, so it's only 2 episodes so far. I'm probably the only one enthusiastic about the fact that Song Seung-un is back. Everyone else is like, yeah, hand towel.
No, I mean, I like him. My Princess gave me a lot of affection for him.
My Princess is the only drama I didn't really like him in, because I mean, I've seen him post. Well, he went to army ages ago, but post Saimdang, everything he's done since Saimdang I've watched. But then I went back and watched My Princess for I can't remember why. It wasn't because of him. I think it's because my sister was watching, and I was like, oh well, let's just see. And yeah, older rom-coms are so slow, and you're just like falling asleep in the middle, and they have those classic second leads, which you really just...
Oh, that drama had zero plot. It was all about the music and the chemistry of the two leads.
Yeah, I should have watched it at speed. That's
and how
true.
pretty everything was.
But anyway, that's not the show we're talking about, sorry. So The Great Show is really actually very fun. It's you've got Song Seung-un, who is this failed politician. Like, he loses an election, and then he like sinks into deep obscurity to the extent where he's like just barely making ends meet by being a designated driver. But he's still like he's this really interesting character because he's like desperate to stay relevant. So he's always going around doing sort of these, not publicity stunts, but he's always trying to, like, he's always, like, keeping his name up, even if it's just going to the market. And when he's doing his shopping, he's just, like, talking to everyone like he's more important than he is. And so it's kind of sad in a really funny way. Like, he does this really well. He's, like, there's this, what is it? So his circumstances are pretty, like, poor. But the way he goes about, the way he maintains his dignity is by not having any dignity. Is just being completely shameless, but in a really like funny way. And Song Seung-un is really good with like humor. I find like his comedic delivery is really enjoyable. And then he's accosted by this kid who, at first, she doesn't reveal like the premise of the show, which is that he's meant to be her dad. Like, yeah, I came here to look for my dad, and he's like, oh, you're such a great kid. I'm sure he would be like overjoyed to meet you. And then to himself, he's like,
except when he finds out it's him.
I feel sorry for that guy. And he's like, I would love to see his face when he finds out he's got this kid. He gets his wish. It's so funny. And it's like, she's not one kid. She's like a package, like one of 4. So she's got a stepbrother, and she's got 2 a pair of twins who are her half siblings. So her mother died, her stepdad ran away, and now these kids are just left alone in the world. So she's in a pretty desperate situation as well. So yeah, everyone in this show is pretty desperate, and it all comes together in a really, really hilarious way, which is also very poignant though as well, because like as much as a lot of the things that happen when they're sort of all smooshed together is played for laughs, there's also that sort of undercurrent of sadness in there, as in none of these kids have anywhere to go. He's not able to take them in, and it's just it's very funny. I think like with My Fellow Citizens, it's got this strong My Fellow Citizens vibe as well. The way that Young Jungkook is like a total con man and a showman. So Song Seung-un is
also a marshmallow on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. So Song Seung-un also, he's a complete, like, a brilliant showman. But the interesting thing is that what he's like inside is better than he is on the outside, if that makes sense. Like, he's actually a better person than he is, than he appears to be, because the part of his whole failed election thing was that he had the scandal happened when his dad died, and this is his dad who abandoned him when he was a kid, and so he got labeled with this what is it called? Like
Unfilial
yeah.
son.
So and it's a label that's stuck to him that he can't get rid of, because that's, like the cardinal sin in Confucian culture, right? It's like that's the worst thing you can be. And there's no way for him to shrug this off, and he just does not make a comeback from that. So like these kids like burst into his life, and it's suddenly like he gets this idea, and I feel like it will be cooperative. Like we haven't got there yet, but like going forward, I think it will be a kind of exchange, because the girl, the one who's his daughter, her name is the character's name is Jung. She seems like the kind who'd be quite pragmatic about that. Like she doesn't require that he love her and accept her and all of that, but she just needs like somewhere for her and her siblings to be safe and be looked after. So I feel like it will be like a big scam for all of them, but they're all in it together.
That sounds really adorable and heartwarming.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to watch it. I picked it up to write an opening week review of. And as I watched it, I was like, it's actually really, really sweet and surprisingly moving. And I'm going to stick to it. I like it.
Nice. I did read some of your review, and I was like, this looks good. But then I thought, if I only have time to watch 2 episodes, maybe I should watch something that you haven't watched.
A good idea. So what did you pick?
Bring another. that was Be Melodramatic. Right. That was Mellow with My Nature, which I don't regret. It's because it's really good.
Both sound like really good.
So what have we got next? Oh, it sounds like what we've got next is really good too.
We have a Moment at 18. Yeah, it's actually really, really good. And before I get into the drama itself, I want to talk about the screenwriter. So do you guys know who this is? She's the one who wrote Girls' Generation 1979, and she wrote Master of Study. I love her writing. Master of Study was not like the best written thing ever, but there was a cohesiveness to her writing that I just generally liked the plot structure really well. And Girls' Generation 1979 is like one of my top favorite dramas. So Moment at 18, I was expecting this to be, I wasn't sure what, because when we were discussing this as an upcoming, the synopsis wasn't super clear on what this was. It's kind of seemed like a coming of age, 3 sort of lonely students, or like students with issues meet each other and their lives change. That's about all they said, and it is that, but it is also so much more. I can't explain it. The story in it, if I try to tell you what the story is, it's going to sound super predictable. There are 2 teenagers who fall in love. There is a third teenager who's in love with one of the main characters, and he's jealous and he does jealous things. But it's not just that. Each of these characters have their own arcs, their own motivations that's completely separate from the classmates, and they are full characters. The girl, the female protagonist here, she's like the most adorable thing. Kim Hyung-gi, she plays this character Yusubin, and Yusubin she's a very dedicated, hardworking, cheerful girl. She has her core group of friends who are loyal to her, and she's loyal to them. And she doesn't hold grudges. She's generally honest. But the thing is that her mother is like a Seoul University graduate, and she wants her daughter to be that as well. But Yusubin is extremely self-aware. She knows that she is smart enough to do well in her class, and she is one of the, like, she's a very good student in class, but not the top. And she knows that there is a limit to how much she can do. And her mother is like, well, this is because you're studying on your own. You refuse to take tuitions. Like, go to these excellent tutors that I'm getting you. And Yusubin simply refuses to. She's like, Mom, I don't want to live that life. I don't want to constantly be going from school to tuitions and back. Let me do it myself. And she's a very hardworking, studious girl. It's not like she's trying to, run off to, I don't know, play with her friends. But her mother is so intensely focused on getting her daughter the best education, the best career angle, the best start to the rest of her life, that she's ignoring her daughter's very wise words when she says that, Mom, I'm not as smart as you. I'm not geared towards the kind of life that you want for me. Let me do well on my own, get to places through my own merit. And yeah, so I love that. I love that that's her core conflict. And then you have these other 2 boys. You have Ong Seong-woo playing Chae Jun-woo, and Chijunbo is again another somewhat like very silent, sort of a mysterious type of character initially, and then you realize it's not that he's silent; it's that he is diffident, but also he's very. He feels like saying stuff in his own defense doesn't work out very well, so he's just not going to say anything. And when he does speak up, he's shushed, so he just it's not like he'll give in to other people accusing him of stuff. It's not that. But he thinks things through. And if he thinks that it's not worth the moral battle, like he can come out winning at the end, but it would be a moral loss, then he simply won't fight the battle. And he will not explain his thinking to anyone. So it leaves everybody very confused about why he decided what he decided. But the audience can see what his thought process is. And you're going along the story with him and you're supporting him. So it's automatically he is a really lovely character to follow. And finally, this actor is I'm really surprised by him. So this is Shin Seong Ho, who's playing Ma Hae-ryung, and Ma Hae-ryung is your traditional second lead who's jealous of the male first lead, wants to date the female first lead, all of that stuff. Yes, but also Ma Hae-ryung is so complex. He is a top student. He is well liked by everybody. His parents are super powerful, so he has a lot of power in the school, but he is kind of like a benevolent dictator. So if you asked his classmates, they would all describe Ma Hae-ryung as like the super helpful guy who, takes time out of his own schedule to help his classmates do well in his class. But if you watch him long enough, you see that he does a very careful balancing act so that he's controlling many of the people in his class, including some of the teachers and even the principal. It's fascinating to watch this character. He's a teenager, he's 17 or 18 years old. He has a lot of pressure from his parents. So you also see his motivation and he becomes more fleshed out. But the conflict between him, who's like perfect on the outside but super imperfect on the inside, and our main lead, Choi Junwoo, who's imperfect on the outside, comes from a poor background, doesn't score very well, was forcefully transferred from his last school. So all the parents are like, our kid shouldn't hang out with him. But he's kind of amazingly wise and mature on the inside. It's the juxtaposition of these two characters is fun to watch, because I mean, while Chojunwo's story is very interesting and you want, he's the underdog, so you're rooting for him and you're waiting for him, and Yusubin to, like, they like each other, you're waiting for their confession, you're waiting for them to, like, have their teeny romance. I mean, the thing, very cute. It is actually super cute. But that's excellent. But the edge that comes into the drama is from Shin Seong Ho's character. You're waiting to watch how he reacts to Choi Junwoo's choices, because he can't figure this character out. It's not within his worldview. He understands transactions, he understands favors, he doesn't understand the choices Choi Junwoo is making. So it's fascinating. The actor playing the second lead role, Shin Seong Ho, I first saw him in this web series called 18. It was a 2018 web series.
Oh, that's right. You were recommending it on a couple of
Funny
yaks
thing
ago.
is, we all know Shin Ye-yoon by now. Like, she was the main lead in He's Psychometric.
Okay.
So she's the heroine in this?
No, she's not the heroine in this. I'm coming. There's a point I'm trying to make. So she was an 18 as well. And I was just trying to figure out where the various character, because there are 6 actors in 18, the co-friend group. And from what I can see, 4 of them are already starring in like proper big budget productions. So this, like, 18 was kind of like the stepping stone for them to proper mainstream dramas. And so this boy is kind of amazing. When I saw him in 18, he was playing this dumb jock type of character. He's not exactly dumb, he's smart, but he's very quiet, doesn't say much, and doesn't emote much. And I didn't actually think that he had any acting range. I thought he was a very limited sort of a, but no, apparently that he was really playing a character, because in Love Alarm his character is somewhat same. He's again this jock who's, he's more physical than he is smart. He plays like, and then in this one, in Moment at 18, he's this really smart boy. He's a really smart boy with a lot of insecurities, and the actor clearly has like a deep range. So he's somewhat we will probably be seeing a lot of in the future.
Nice.
All right.
Okay, so well, speaking of benevolent dictators in Class of Lies, we have a malevolent dictator. So it's not I feel all written out because everything I'm watching this month I've been writing about as well. So I kind of just want to say to everyone, just go and read my reviews and my recaps because like all of my thoughts have been used up. Class of Lies. I talked about the premise last month. Not a lot left to say about it because I'm all written out. You've still got Yunkin Sang being smug, which is like the best Yunkin Sang, because stuff is like finally going his way. The show is a little bit weirdly paced, so it's like it does some weird things. Like stuff happens and it happens off screen, and you're like, oh, that's weird. But I think they're just trying to cram a lot in. It's still a really good watch. It's not deep. You can just sort of whiz through it very superficially and just enjoy it that way. There's not a huge deal beneath the surface. Pretty much all of the students are really despicable, which is great because it makes them really fun watching. I don't usually enjoy that, but in this show, everyone is terrible and I love it. But that's probably as much as I've got to say. It's got 1 week left to go. And yeah, it's very enjoyable, but not like complex. But another new show which just started, it's actually been about 3 weeks now, maybe 4. It started just after we recorded our last. Right, okay. Welcome to Life, which is Rain's new drama, the Parallel Worlds one, which we previewed I think last month. This is fun. I like this one. So again, I wrote an opening week review of this, so go read the review. So you have Rain, who is this kind of he's this hotshot, high-flying lawyer who's traded in his conscience in exchange for a cushy life, because why not? So he spends his days defending like the scumbags of the universe, which is a good way to make big money. And he just doesn't let it get to him, even though like there are these points where you can see that he thinks that the people he's defending are scum. He's just like, well, this is my job, and he's good at it, so he keeps on going. But then he reaches a turning point when like something really bad happens, and like he played a part in allowing this a murder to happen. And that really like it shakes him, and he just has a crisis. And just like everything crashes down, and he's like, I can't do this anymore. So he's on the way to turning all of his scummy clients in, and then he gets hit by not one track of doom but 2, so which is like a first. So like one car knocks him off the road, and the other one like smushes him to pieces.
Wow. No,
Right.
my expectations have been
Developed
subverted now.
immunity. Yeah, I mean, 1 isn't interesting anymore. You've got to keep things exciting. So yeah, it's 2. Maybe the second one is the one that knocks him into the parallel life, because he wakes up and he's in a totally different world, and he thinks he's like just in his normal life, until like his ex-girlfriend from 3 years ago walks in like wearing very little, and he's like, whoa, what are you doing here? And then it all begins, and it's great because like there's this whole like a whole episode of just shenanigans of like what is happening, why are all of these people, they just why why is this woman here, who is this tiny kid who's farting in my face to wake me up? And it's really funny. But it's kind of, have you guys watched Life on Mars in any version?
No.
Okay, so like similar premise, or not similar premise, but similar sort of thing, where he wakes up after a major accident and finds himself in like a parallel world and a different life. Except in this case,
Also sounds like familiar wife.
oh yes, I guess. Although I haven't
Familiar
watched
Wife,
enough of
yes.
that to know.
But that's the opposite. He's married to her, and then he wakes up in another reality
Oh
where he's
yeah,
not.
that is the
And it's
opposite.
devastating.
Oh
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so here he wakes up married to his ex with a child, and he's not a lawyer. He's a very lowly paid lowly prosecutor with like peanuts of pay in a department that is like barely part of anything. He's just basically a reject in his life. I mean, this is like, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I find it really fun. But I like it does have a little bit of sort of gravity running below the surface, which is that like you do, like in his normal life, you can see all of the points where he's having these thoughts about, like you can see he doesn't like what he's doing, but he just sort of deliberately closes his eyes to it and carries on anyway. And you get the sense that this life is the life, it is a result of all of those choices being made slightly differently. So this is the life he would have had if he'd made the better choices in his other life. But like, because he thinks this is like all a dream, like he lives it differently. It's like because on one level it's like he thinks there aren't consequences because it's all a dream, so it doesn't matter what I do. So he just does it. Like it's really great to see him using all of his inside knowledge from the other side, from his other life, to sort of take down the bad guys on this side. It's really fun. I do recommend it. I'm about a week and a half behind on it, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, if I hadn't been traveling with bad internet during most of August, I definitely would have started watching this, but such is life.
Well, think of it this way. By the time you have time to watch it, all of it will be out and you can binge it.
Which will be when? Next summer? Probably will be next summer. I'm actually not being hyperbolic at all. But anyway.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about my sad graduate school life.
So next is Hotel Del Luna, which is so close to the end. And there are just 2 episodes left. One of them has already aired. I watched it till 14. And as far as I can tell, most of the conflicts have been resolved. There is only just one major conflict. And we already kind of know the answer to it. So I'm not sure what they plan on doing through 15 and 16. But I have not. I started off, like, last time I was talking about this drama, I was a little disappointed with what's his name, Eugene Goo's acting, like in the initial episodes. But again, around the episode 4 or 5ish, he found his footing. And after that, though, I was really happy with him. He really got into the character. His chemistry with IU just got better and better, possibly because he's playing the younger character in this pairing. Like, IU just emanates more wisdom. She is older than him anyway, I think, but she just does the older character thing better. And one of the ongoing tracks between these two is that Eugene Gu is kind of like, you know how you have that Hollywood trope where the heroine runs into danger and the hero keeps having to come and save her, even though he's probably told her to sit safely somewhere. She's like, no, must be dumb, and run into danger anyway. So Eugene Gu's character does that a lot.
So he's the damsel in distress.
He's the damsel in distress. No, he's not stupid about it. He knows, he always like weighs the danger, but he's an honest sort of character, and he wants to do good. So if he thinks that there's an opportunity to do good, he will put himself in the path of danger, but only because he's always so sure that Jang Manol is going to come and save him.
That's so cute.
Every point, like even when she's the one putting him in danger. Like there is a time when she is sort of be resentful towards him because he came into her life and she's been living like 1300 years with like nothing changing, and suddenly things start changing. So people around her, the ghosts who live with her in the hotel, they're a bit nervous. They're like, wait, what if he causes you to, finally pass on to the afterlife? Then what would happen to us? What would happen to the hotel? So she's like, you know what, maybe let's get rid of him. So they put him in a dangerous situation, and she tells him, and she tells him that I'm not going to be taking care of you.
Hardcore in-laws. Wow.
So can I just take a quick moment to say I am watching this. I'm on episode 2, but so please, no major spoilers.
No major spoilers, I promise. And anyway, the story is really nicely woven in a way that there are no major plot twists. It's going exactly where you expect it to go, but it's doing it really well. And also, the backstory, Jang Manol's backstory, as it's told, it's because Ayu's character Jang Manol was different in the past, and she's different now. So it's almost as if they are two different characters. So yeah, Anyway, I'm enjoying this a lot. This is great. It's going to be over in 2 episodes. I'm going to be sad. I'm most likely going to rewatch this
So this is like
just
a
because of
fitting
Ayu.
redemption of
And
the Hung sisters, then
yeah,
you would say.
I'm afraid to say anything because again, haven't watched the last 2 episodes. But
Yeah,
so
they've
far,
been known not to stick the landing before, so
right,
yeah.
because till now it's gotten so, and it got better episode on episode. The initial episodes were a little shaky for me, probably because they were trying to find their footing. But I think just the second half was amazing. It blew by so quickly, and all the characters have been treated with so much care. I'm The characters that I didn't think had anything to make me feel for them suddenly became more sympathetic characters. I just, so yeah, I'm really hopeful about the next 2 episodes, but again, I'm afraid to
True.
jinx it.
Can I just read your text, the one that you sent us? Can I read it to everyone?
Sure.
Because we complained a lot about Yojingu and his ability or lack of ability in romancing. And then a couple of days after that, you sent a text saying, "Guys, Yojingu has arrived as a romantic lead." I just laughed so much over that text. I think it was after that I was like, okay, I'll watch it now. It was a
Yeah.
good text.
In the words of the woman herself, he has arrived. This is definitely tentatively going on my list of post-graduation watches. As long as you tell us that the ending is good.
The atmosphere of it is really like the atmosphere, the visuals. It's really, like you say, it's Goblin like, but where Goblin was like full on drama, this has more of that sort of magical fantasy type of. It's going more sort of for the slightly lighter, more fantastical rather than that mellow kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to carry on now. Next.
Oh, I have one more drama that I want to talk about. It's Level Up. So I watched it, the complete thing, and Sung-hoon was great. I actually enjoyed the story. Anisa, I think you started it before me, right?
Yeah, and I watched up to episode 6, and then like I just got distracted and I never got back to it. Not because I didn't want to watch it, but just like life was very busy.
Okay, so this is more of a office story than a rom-com or anything like that, which is fine. I find that I generally like office stories. Like I also started Chief Kim recently. I'd been hearing such good stuff about it, but I never got to start it before, and I have now, and I'm so glad I did. I love it. But so Level Up is great. The only problem is like the story itself is great. I mean, it's there are no huge conflicts, nothing. It's completely driven by Sang-hoon's character. The story is pretty much like every single aspect of it has something or the other to do with Sang-hoon or his character Andante. The issue that I have with Level Up, this is less of a review of Level Up, which, again, cutesy office stories. If you like watching it, watch Level Up. The gaming aspect of it isn't really fleshed out. It's less about gaming and more about intellectual property theft, I suppose, or like battling out corporate espionage in a sort of a low key way. So yeah, not really about gaming that much. There is this one point when there are two characters battling, like they're trying to figure out their superiority by battling in a game, and this dude, like Sung Hoon's character, beats this other character who's been developing games and he's never played ever, and the justification for that is that he is so committed to his work that he can even pick up something like gaming which he's never done just because he's so committed to work and he's a genius. So it's that level of,
Yeah, that was kind of dumb.
yeah,
That
it's
was
it's that level of Sung-hoon fan service. But here's the issue. So this is what I wanted to talk about. I've watched 3 dramas with Sung-hoon in it at this point. I think I might have watched more, but these are the 3 that I remember him in. One is My Secret Romance. The other one is the one where he gets kidnapped by that wrestler girl who doesn't know how to wrestle when she gets in trouble. What's that called? Picked up a celebrity on the street. So sorry, Anisa. um, and this one, Level Up. And a common thread that I've seen running through all of these dramas is that Sung-hoon's character is always the smart, the just one, the sensible one, and
the successful one.
and he can act and he's funny. He's got amazing physical comedy, as you said before. So all of it's actually really fun to watch Sung-hoon. So that's no small thing. I finished the entire drama, didn't I? but it seems like he chooses scripts where most of the characters, but especially the female characters, are just too stupid to live, man. Like, how do
Uh,
they function? They should be all falling flat on their faces and dying. Just, my god, they're so dumb. And also, for some reason, in Level Up, they decided that the way women express their frustration at him, because he can often be frustrating, is by hitting him. Like, dude got slapped like 3 or 4 times, got hit on the head twice, uh, and like 5 out of 6 of those times was by the female lead. Like, just, he could like beat up a lot. And thing is that he was being frustrating and like sphinxish and not revealing information, so there is justification for the anger, but there is no justification for violence like this, especially when it always portrays the women as these unreasonable, temperamental, volatile creatures who are unable to think things through,
mm,
and later on they always feel guilt. I mean, what and this is true for also I was had start I'd been watching My Secret Romance, like when it first came out. I watched a few episodes and it seemed okay, and again I went back to it because people had been saying that it's such a sweet romance and all of that stuff, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll go watch it. I can't keep watching this thing, man. I can't get through. I think I've watched like what, 6 or 7 episodes, or I know at some I mean I'm at a point where the heroine is pretending that her younger brother is not her younger brother, and Sung-hoon's character has started thinking that, wait, must be her child, like, and therefore his child, because they had slept together like 3 years back. And the heroine is not disabusing him because it's embarrassing to her to admit that the young child she's living with is her very young brother, because she's embarrassed by the fact that her mother, who by the way is a ex porn star, got married a lot of times and had a child at her age. The heroine is ruining her own life because she's embarrassed of her mother.
wow.
Did I just shout? I think I shouted.
It's okay. I also like in Noble My Love, which no one should ever watch because it was garbage, which I mentioned to you guys before. It was a web drama, but it ended up on Netflix. He also plays like this perfect rich CEO, whatever, and the woman, even though she's a veterinarian, and that means that she must be really smart, but actually she's also too stupid to live. And the dynamics between them are like the worst, like 1995 gender dynamic. It's terrible.
I haven't watched Noble My Love, but one thing I will say about Sung-hoon's character in these 3 dramas that I have watched, at least, his character is always the least problematic one. Like, his character always makes the most sense. His is the one who always thinks things through, is sensitive, has dimensions. It just, all the other characters, and especially the female characters, don't require like fleshing out at all, apparently.
Do you think that that's not a function of his drama choices, in the sense that he probably picks the role based on his character rather than all the others?
Yes, but I have to think that he gets offered roles where there are female characters who go toe to toe with him and are also smart. But I don't want to accuse him of deliberately choosing god awful scripts, because after all, these dramas are doing pretty well. So he is not wrong about that. But he seems to be choosing dramas where he's shown to the best advantage, even if that is to the cost of the other characters. And that does seem to be deliberate choice, at least from what I've seen of his script choices till now.
That's possibly true, but I also wanted to point out that pretty much every drama that he's been a lead in has been either a cable drama or a web drama. When it's been stuff on like KBS and things, like there's less of those, but also he's never the first lead. He's either like a tertiary lead or a second lead. So maybe these are the only lead roles he's getting because he's been typecast as a particular, like his most famous role was as one of the romantic, like Shin Hye-sun's romantic partner in Five Enough or Five Children.
Yeah.
And they were like the maknae couple on that. So they weren't like the main couple, but they were really popular. So maybe, and in that he plays like this really successful and arrogant golf player. So maybe that's just kind of fit into this typecasting, and maybe that is the only type of roles he gets. Who knows? I mean, you might be right, and he only picks roles like this. I don't know.
Just a side note, though, before we move on from this, in Level Up, there is something Sanghun does that I genuinely like, which is that his character is super uptight, and like you described him really well last time. But he's like he does things where people are like, well, you should be modest about this, and he's like, why? So his character is really funny that way. Just his existence is funny, but he does something, I don't know, to further the comical effect, I suppose, where he speaks in this very particular way, and I was confused about whether this was I don't know, an accent that I had never heard, like of a particular region. I think Anisa, you told me that it's an affectation; it's not an accent at all,
Yeah.
and it occurs to me that it sounds a lot like what Jang Hyuk does, especially in Fated to Love You.
Yes. Yes. You after you said that, I was like, totally. It does remind me of that. It's so
Anyway,
funny.
so
It's great.
It is. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he is really good. I mean, I haven't watched the second half, but I did enjoy his performance the
No,
most.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sang-hun is actually really good. I just really want him to do a script that does not have heroines or female characters
Agree.
like this. Please, just like I like you as an actor. Please redeem yourself.
Yeah, he
to
should
me.
do something
Like,
different
not to me,
now.
but just
Do you think that's the level of what he gets offered, though?
yeah. That's what Anisa said, and that actually makes sense. I agree. I don't want him to be the villain of the story. Okay,
Let's
I
hope for
feel-
his sake that he's able to break out of this typecasting soon. Okay. Saya, you just finished Watcher, right?
I'm actually I'm not going to say a lot because my brain is really wrung out from all of the words that I've sort of pushed out this month. So by the time this yak comes out, I'm sure my review will be up. I did a mid-series review, and I'm working on a finale review of this, so you can go read both of those on Drama Beans. But what I do want to say is it's really difficult to, especially to people who aren't watching, it's very difficult to summarize or just really talk about it in a general way beyond what I've already said about it in last month's yak. But so, like, if I say anything more than that, you're just not going to get it right now because it's so complex and everything is so interrelated, and it's just going to be, I'm going to be saying words and you're going to be like, okay, carry on. But what I do want to say is it finished last week, and it is, like, from beginning to end, it's just excellent. Like, it's so very excellent. I haven't watched a drama this detailed and complex and in a way that works, that I felt so satisfied by the end for such a long time. And like a lot of people will say the same about Forest of Secrets, but I didn't actually feel that way about Forest of Secrets. So I feel the way a lot of people felt about Forest of Secrets is how I feel about this show. And it's just like everything about it, it's just so well done. And like Kim Hyun-joo in this, she just killed this. She is amazing, and probably my favorite character of the year. But the whole, it's just so
That
good,
makes me so happy
good. I mean, I
to hear.
love seeing women in these roles, and they're like these ambiguous, morally like opaque, like you can't see through them, and all you've got is what they tell you, but you're still trying to read them. And like their histories are like so hidden from you, yet you get little pieces of it in a way that's just really tantalizing without being annoying. So like the whole like center of this story is sort of unfolded piece by piece until you get to the middle, and you're just like, I get it now, but also there's still so much more inside the heart of it that you haven't got to yet. And the way that it was finished, it was totally like a completed story, but it there's enough in there that I feel like there could be a second season. And I think it's well worth a second season, and I really hope they get it. And like Anisa, you were saying that you have this irrational dislike of So Jun. If you disliked him before, if you watch him in this, I feel like this will undo any negative feelings you've ever had about him. He's amazing.
Yeah, I think if ever I was to watch something with him in it, like I definitely want to watch this show.
It's really good. And Han Suk-kyu, you know, I was talking about his like ambiguity last time, and like the way he crossed the line, and how all of that is very relevant, and how I felt about it was very relevant. None of it was like accidental. It's all going somewhere.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's good to know.
excellent show.
Nice.
Oh, I wanted to add one more note about something I forgot to mention at the beginning because I wanted to, when you were talking about Mulan, just for anyone who's a reader, there's a new book that's coming out by Sherry Thomas, if anyone has heard of her. Remember the Burning Sky books?
Yeah.
She's so good. I love her as well.
And I've read her her romances.
Her romances, right?
Yeah.
I haven't read her romances, but I do like her fantasy is like my perfect read. So she's got this book coming out called The Magnolia Sword,
Yes.
which comes out on September the 10th, which is a Ballad of Mulan retelling.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. So if anyone wants to read it and come back and tell us about it, Farmer, you're probably going to read it sooner than I am.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like her romances, and I didn't know that she was. I thought she was
she's
white.
half Chinese.
Yeah.
I thought that as well, and I was
interesting.
like, why is a random white romance lady writing this? And then, and then I went to Goodreads, and no, she's half Chinese.
Well, see, all the Courtney Milan is also half Chinese.
Oh, interesting.
This writer, Sherry Thomas, she has such a range. Like, I love her romances, yes, but not quite as much as I loved A Study in Scarlet Women, which was her take on like a female Sherlock Holmes, and it's done so well.
Ooh.
And I just got the sequel. The sequel's come out a while back, but I just got it, so I can read it, and I'm really looking forward to Magnolia Sword.
Oh, I'm excited to read something by her.
I highly recommend. The only series I've read by her, but I loved it, was the Burning Sky trilogy, which was I just loved it. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's similar genre to Magnolia Sword in that way.
It's YA, right?
It's YA, yeah. YA fantasy.
Super cool.
I think that wraps this up.
No jokes this time?
Oh God, I forgot. No jokes this time. You want me to look something up?
Oh no, it's okay. We can.
Anissa's
we can
like,
do
no,
it next time.
No, I have homework.
Yeah. It's not that.
Okay, let's just say bye.
Say our thank yous and our byes. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.